I think the absence of this tool will be a disqualifying event. Not that it's table stakes going forward.
Is the AI tool is it doing what a human could be possibly doing?
What I quickly saw as I started using this tool more and more and more, there is nothing that a CFP junior advisor can do other than the human connection that I can't replace with an AI.
So you can actually use this stuff as an advisor to go A to Z for the financial planning. So that frees up your time to probably do more marketing than just run your business.
There's nothing that we do as financial advisors in terms of computational or modeling that we pay for the e-monies, retirement analyzer, all this stuff for, that it can't do. It can't do better.
I mean, I would assume you think you must have tech AI tools in your business essentially moving forward in order to be around for 10 years? Or is that not a fair statement?
That's absolutely fair. You won't be around 10 years if you don't have the backbone around this stuff.
Systems work. People fail. Welcome to InsureMark's Advisor Mentorship Podcast with Vice President Jeremy Hauser.
Welcome back to this week's episode of the Advisor Mentorship Podcast. I am your host, Jeremy Hauser. Just came off an amazing episode here with our last guest. Pretty deep dive, especially in an industry that continues to boom. We've had a lot of guests on here as of late talking about some marketing strategies, some innovation, technology, AI. I figured, let's give the audience a little insight from one of our advisors here that works with our team, none other than Advocate Wealth Solutions CEO and also host of March to a Million, Greg DuPont. How are you doing today, Greg?
I'm doing great, Jeremy. Thanks for having me on board.
And the main message that we are promoting on that one is?
So the March to a Million is my commitment, my challenge to myself and my team to positively impact 1 million families, saving $2 billion from excess loss in taxation and those type of things that come into a retirement journey or a family inheritance by the time I hit the age of 65 on September 30, 2030. And so that podcast chronicles the things I learned, the mission as I'm following that, and also speaks specifically to the audience of attorneys that I am recruiting into my Wealth Solutions Network to help in this cause.
Love that. Good stuff. Good vision right there. And I believe, so 2 years ago or so, you came on the show. I believe at that time frame, it was DuPont Wealth Solutions. So we've now emerged into Advocate Wealth Solutions. Since then, that episode was titled Unleashing Your Superpower. So I believe we were talking a little bit about some of the strategies your team has been incorporating into not only your business, but also some of the tech, the marketing. So a lot of that is full circle, and we'll recap here the last 24 months. But if anything, for the audience themselves, we were talking earlier this week on one of our mastermind calls, and you shared something with me from a previous podcast episode. And the guest was Samantha Russell, and she shared some insight around AI. And she talked a little bit about advisor marketing, things to stick out to others. What was a little bit of that messaging that you shared on the call, and what did you end up implementing?
And it was unsolicited, Jeremy. So this is straight from the reaction. So I, like many advisors, people listen to podcasts, you kind of batch listen. And I've always joked with you about, I haven't listened to that one yet. I haven't been flying around, but that's when I'm going to do it. And when I listened to that podcast, there was so much gold in that conversation that I sat back and said, well, I got to make sure I implement some of these things. And as you know, I'm doing all kinds of stuff with AI and building agents and all that. And so that led me to actually create an agent that I'm calling Jeremy. That agent's job is to go out and go to a host of different podcasts that are like Advisor Mentorship. And it automatically goes out and it pulls in the transcripts, reads the transcripts and highlights the things for me that are action items or other things that may be interesting and calendars it. So thanks to you, Jeremy, I've got a new Jeremy bot in my household.
I love that. Well, is it really called Jeremy? That's pretty good if it is. Well, that is an interesting concept. So and she did actually give some really good nuggets on that. The show notes, she actually left some PDFs and things advisors can look at. But most importantly, too, so I mean, you've been doing your podcast as well, I think, for, I mean, years now. So the March to Million, which is a great mission, great vision for giving a timestamp, but also I think the goals behind that are pretty, I mean, pretty incredible to get a whole team to align to the aspiration. So for you as an advisor podcasting, what are you using that for in your business model?
Yeah, so a lot of it is for the communications with my client base. It's more. I used to have a podcast that was definitely consumer driven, and now the March to Million has been more professional driven. And every once in a while, I slip in something that's definitely on the consumer level, and those are the ones that I share with my client base, whether those are clients that are from my law office or clients that are coming from the financial channel or prospects. So that's how I'm using it quite a bit. And I'm also, repurposing it through social media to get those shorts and things like that grab people's attention when they're not really paying attention. And next thing you know, they get a little educated.
Are you, so for 2026, starting that podcast up, I believe it was at least, if not a full 18 months, maybe 24 months ago. So 2026, what systems and processes going into this year? Have you tweaked anything and why?
So I've tweaked everything, Jeremy, in the sense that systems work, people fail. You've got it in my blood, and I started about 18 months ago with aggressively incorporating AI into my practice, and it sits there with me as a co-pilot on every case that I do now. And over the course of the last 18 months, I have been able to continue to refine that brain. And now it runs the initial assessment analysis of the data that comes in from a discovery meeting, all the way through being able to generate illustrations, as I share with you in that call.
Yep.
And next up, we'll be having it be able to do applications so that I can stop harassing you and your team with stuff that comes in not in good order.
New product alert. Revel One Financial is continuing to rev it up. At Revel One Financial, their mission is to revolutionize how people feel, think, and experience retirement solutions. They are bringing unmatched agility, speed, and innovation to the fixed annuity industry. And now Revel One Financial just announced their latest product launch, introducing a CumRev fixed index annuity with a 10% 7-year guaranteed cap rate with the S&P 500 1-year point-to-point index interest rate on the 7-year product. Rate subject to change at any time, but you heard that right. 10% cap on the S&P 500 guaranteed for the 7-year contract. CumRev also has an index lock rider with 3 ways to lock in performance. Another launch, another leap forward. That's the Revel One Financial Cheetah Spirit, built for speed, designed to deliver.
Well, the goal is, I mean, that'd be incredible to get them to, and obviously it sounds like it's progressing, so it's working, right? So it's not just, so 18 months, now you refined a couple things this year. So up and running illustrations and doing certain aspects of the business. Is the AI tool actually, is it doing what a human could be possibly doing?
Yes. This time last year, I was embarking upon trying to find a junior advisor, a CFP, to try to come in and take some of the planning lift off of me, because that's been one of my challenges, is that I am the only planner in my business that way. But when I started going out to the marketplace, seeing what was available in the marketplace, and frankly, seeing the pricing in the marketplace, at least the demands on it, said, wait, this is not going to work for my shop that I want to run a little bit leaner. And what I quickly saw as I started using this tool more and more and more, is there is nothing that a CFP junior advisor can do other than the human connection that I can't replace with an AI. And that's going to be the way that the industry goes. And that is actually a cornerstone now of my whole Wealth Solutions Network approach with the attorneys I bring in and the advisors I bring into that channel. that we're able to get the first line of planning all done, automated, and then that's where you can let the art of human connection tie in, as well as being able to add those little nuances that makes a plan your own.
So are you finding that, especially the attorney market that you're having conversations with, so are they coming across now? How long have we been doing that? So I know you've started the network. Has it been at least 2 years or just about a year that you've been doing WSN?
The Wealth Solutions Network, I started it in earnest 3 years ago now.
Okay.
And we had some internal issues last year that I had to pull back in a little bit. So now I'm launching what I call 3.0 of it. Going back into that in full scale. But yeah, so it's been around for 3 years, and we have a handful of attorneys on the program that are trying to figure it out. One of the things that was a eye opener is just how difficult it was for them to find some additional bandwidth. It's not a matter, it's much like us as advisors. It's not a matter of capacity intellectually. It's a matter of time management and case flow management and all that kind of stuff. And so this helps me with that level of client or with that level of advisor. They don't have to spend the time learning all the tricks and techniques that I spent the last 20 years developing.
Do you find that attorneys, like financial advisors, are they leaning into AI as well too? Are they afraid to do that? Maybe to the capacity of what you're doing?
I've found that attorneys like advisors are still kind of shying away by and large on it. And it's something that, you will not lose your job to an AI, but you'll lose your job to somebody that knows how to use an AI.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And we just got to get past the fear, move into the fact that this is an incredibly powerful tool. Case in point, Jeremy, I still use Retirement Analyzer as my presentation software for many of my meetings. But what I get right now is when someone comes in for an estate planning engagement, they're able to, they typically have always given me financial information, family information, all that. And if they opt into our process, our Clarity Map process, then they sit down with us at that meeting where we're going to discuss their estate plan, and then also have a overview of of their financial future, gauged against retirement mistakes that we've seen people make throughout the country.
It's interesting because especially this year last year, it's always been around, but I think for some reason, maybe it was just the new tax laws being implemented this year, but it seems like based off all the marketing and different conversations that are out there to attract new prospects, estate planning and taxes seems to be right at the top, if not the top two. Conversations that's getting in not just new people to raise their hand to want a conversation with an advisor, but I'd say the quality of the person who is usually coming into those type of webinars, seminars, wherever the marketing channels are taking these people, they're usually more qualified and wealthier individuals. So how important is estate planning in your business for finding the right customers?
It's the cornerstone. As you and I have, kind of evolved together, and you've seen over the course of the last how many years, I've tried a lot of different lead generation programs, and the one that consistently produces the highest caliber of client and then the most open client is the estate planning engagement, and I've got my theory on that is because it's everything else feels like they've heard it and they're turned off by the idea of retirement plan because of what they hear about it, and it's so much directly related to a typical sales presentation that they become numb to a little bit. But when somebody realizes, they wake up one day and they realize, okay, I have accumulated a whole lot more money than I ever thought I would. And I'm not worried about outliving my money anymore. Then they start thinking, oh, wait a second. What happens if God's plan for me is a little different than my plan? Well, how am I going to leave this stuff behind? And am I going to leave it behind with a big mess? Are my kids going to misuse it? And that's when they have the bona fide, shall we say, the light bulb goes off and it's time to talk about estate planning. And that's why it becomes a lot more attractive for them. And when you're having that conversation, most of those people that I have talked to in that situation in life, 55 to 75, that are having that, they've realized once their eyes have been opened that they've done their risk journey, and now they want to preserve, protect, and transfer their life savings after, of course, they live their life the way they want to live it. And that opens the door to a whole lot of financial tools that can improve their life.
Retirement isn't built in a day. It's built on a strong foundation. Talcott's fixed index annuities help protect against market downturns while offering real growth potential. The Everguard Assurance delivers guaranteed income you can count on, and the Everguard Aspire offers strong growth potential with competitive rates and caps, plus a no-fee bonus to help clients stay strong all the way through the age of 85. It's all part of a commitment to help advisors and clients move forward with confidence. Talcott, a foundation you can depend on, a trusted partner for what's next. If you would like more information, go to talcott.com and make sure you learn more. Once again, that's Talcott, TALCOTT.com.
What do you think this year? What's one gap like in estate planning is there a common trend with a lot of people that are coming through any of your marketing arms? Some blind spots that just, it seems like a lot of people have when it comes to estate planning specifically? I know you got the attorney background and the financial advisor background. So what's like something very eye-opening that you're seeing often today?
Within our world as advisors, it's almost counterintuitive that people wouldn't know this. But the sheer number of people that we've talked to, and we've talked to thousands of people across the country, the sheer number of people that have no idea that the retirement funds are going to be taxed, not only upon death, but many of them don't even know that's going to be taxed during their life. They just have not been clued in because their 401k reps never really talked to them about that. And so that's the gap, that they don't realize that 40% of their life savings is going to go away. It's just a matter of when.
Really? That's interesting because I guess that's our world of just what we, I guess, talk about every day. So I guess it's very common, but so literally middle America / multimillionaires just accumulating wealth. They don't realize that certain accounts are going to be taxed.
It's amazing how many people are absolutely clueless to it. And that's part of the reason why I do the podcast, why I write all these books and things like that, is because there are so many people out there that just don't know. And, in that zone between 55 and 70, there's so many things that can be done to change that picture for not only their own lifetime taxes, but what's left behind, making that more tax efficient.
In that article I shared earlier this week, it's a topic we've talked about. You've shared a lot of good insight with the team on just generational wealth, the amount of assets in the next, not just 7 years, but actually the next, call it 18 to 20 years or so of wealth that's going to be transferred to Gen X and then also millennials and so on and so forth. So estate planning seems to be the most timely conversation today because if mom and dad don't even know about the tax planning, are you already seeing that conversation? Are you talking to the kids, or are you seeing people? If you're talking to 55 and 6-year-olds, that's Gen X. So are they aware of these type of scenarios?
More so now. But it is clearly a gap in their education process, shall we say. Their advisors from their 401ks don't really talk to them about that. And many people just living their lives, right?
Yep.
They put on a contribution on autopilot when they were 25. Next thing they know, they're 55 and they haven't changed anything. And that's just because we're living life, dealing with kids, all those kind of things. And they wake up one day and say, oh, wow, there's ramifications to this. Didn't see that coming.
Actually, I do want to go back to something. So something you mentioned earlier, and we're on that generational wealth idea, estate planning. That's where a lot of your business is coming from. So timely conversations around that. But I mean, I got to go back to creating an AI Jeremy or just creating these AI tools, right? So
Mhm.
how do you keep up? I mean, literally, how do you keep up with all the nuances and technology that's out there? So not just how do you like what does Greg do to actually keep up? Like what's the process to keep up with it? But most importantly, what do you have in place to help with implementing it? Not just learning about it, but actually implementing.
Yeah, the first step when I started getting serious about this, after I just kind of used it as a co-pilot for me along the way, I got some advice from a friend of mine that said, create your chief of staff agent first. That's somebody that you will be accountable to, and keeps you into your to-dos and whatever. Okay. And so I started with that. And then I evolved from that to, okay, these are the particular things that are now on the bogey list for this quarter. And make sure that you're holding me accountable to this so that it comes back up for me. So every morning starts with me getting my briefing and interacting with it. And with my system now, when that interaction, it's pulling in transcripts from my conversations with clients the prior day for me to make sure that I don't have any loose ends on that. It's pulling in databases of my top 20 prospects so I know who's right there top of mind. It's giving me, all the information I need to make sure that that day is successful. And it's telling me, hey, Greg, you told me that you would have this done last Thursday. It's now Tuesday. When are we going to put this on the calendar and get it done? And that one step made me so much more efficient. I've had calendars with to-dos lists. We all do all kinds of things, but being able to do that, and candidly, it kind of gamifies it, right? It's new, it's fun, but before you know it, it becomes habit. And I didn't realize that. And I know you're a big fan of habit. And for me, that's what happened. It started out, I was tinkering and playing with it. And next thing I know, I'm evolving it, and, I got to do it. It's my habit now. And that's been, one of the keys to, the growth of the last, call it 12 months.
That's incredible. So you mentioned two ways. So daily briefings. I wrote down also, that's actually really smart. Chief of staff. I say actually not because I don't think that you could have done that. I just say actually because that's really clever. So not just the chief of staff, but so essentially you're reassessing every 12 weeks, give or take, every quarter you're saying. So what like walk me through starting this quarter. What did you adjust compared to last quarter?
Well, I need to take you back into to Greg's world a little bit more for that. So as you know, but the listeners don't, I have three distinctly different businesses. I have Advocate Wealth Solutions, I got DuPont Law Group, and I have the Wealth Solutions Network. And I also like to keep my sanity. So I have a quarter that is for myself in my executive functioning, as it were, right? And so each one of those quarters, each one of those four businesses has a quarter that's focused on what I'm doing specifically to push that business forward. It's not that not that I am ignoring the other businesses, but that's going to be the key for growth for that quarter. So first quarter was getting my executive function all set up. So for that quarter, I set, that's where I do my goal setting and set the bogeys out for the year for everything. And then the second quarter was for the Wealth Solutions, for Advocate Wealth, and now is for Wealth Solutions Group. And so I have the rocks for the quarter, right? That it's telling me, keeping me on pace to that, and it's tracking my delegations to my team that are there to support me in the journey.
Okay, that's actually even further back. So if we're like reassessing, it's not necessarily you're reassessing that same business. So every quarter you're actually doing some year-long planning, but for the different parts of your different companies of what you're trying to do. You're just keeping everything moving forward. And then like as an example for, and I know if you just started doing it probably this year, Are there already things you're seeing in like just the Advocate Wealth Solutions part of running that business that you're already starting to tinker with and maybe even adjust based off of some of the habits that you're like, well, now that I'm getting pretty good at this, I'm going to do this?
Yeah, to see how the kind of the habit stacking on that, how that worked, is first quarter was focusing. Okay, what do I need to accomplish this year so that Advocate Wealth Solutions Network, and DuPont Law Group all grow independent of me, and takes all of it takes me out of the role of being, I got to be there every day doing everything, because I want to be like Jeremy. I want to be traveling all the world all the time. And so that's the sales were set the first quarter that way. And from that drove me into the second quarter, which was, okay, now with those goals in mind for the enterprise, how does this element have to be managed to get us where we're going? And that's when I started moving from capturing my process with my sidekick AI to actually having it start doing the process and working with it to do the process, and developing that, which is now going into Wealth Solutions, is now the core of what I'm building this summer, which is the deliverable that I'm going to go back to market with the attorneys and advisors, because I think I have to open it up now, to say, this is how we streamline this process from the lead gen that we have to the first analysis that tees up a planning conversation. And so then that'll go into the fourth quarter, where I will then focus on the law group and say, okay, how do we improve this back in our group and expand on that going forward? And then it just becomes a virtuous cycle at that point in time.
What if your clients could access one of the biggest investment trends of the decade without sacrificing the protection of fixed index annuities? With Ibexus, they can. Their newest index options provide access to crypto-linked growth potential through the fastest-growing ETF in history, plus exposure to the world's most recognized U.S. equity index, the S&P 500, through an innovative volatility-controlled strategy. More innovation, more diversification, more opportunities to differentiate your practice. Contact Ibexus today and see what's next in fixed index annuities. How do you determine, as just a business owner, though, like, what tasks are yours? What are you delegating out? Or are you giving that off to your chief of staff / AI assistant, or who owns what on the decision pole?
So I put it out, but here's where that second brain helps, in the sense that I'm like, okay, these are the things that we need to get accomplished this quarter toward these goals. And then I work with it to say, okay, how can I have this member of my team help us move toward that goal, instead of me trying to figure it out? And I spent enough time with it that it knows each person's role and how that fits. And so now it suggests a handful of different things that could be packaged up into a delegation brief saying, hey, Bob, take care of this way, and come back to me on that.
Okay. So that actually makes sense, because I know, like, for the most part, a lot of people that, I mean, when I get a chance to talk to some of my own advisors, that's where we're all trying to get better, right? Is that whole build, scale, capitalize, trying to figure out how to, most importantly, scale, especially around your business. So what do you actually like to do in your realm of day to day? What can you delegate out, that below the line activities? So are you making the decision, or are you now starting to feel comfortable enough to where an AI tool can make that decision on your behalf? But obviously you can override that decision.
I'm making that decision based upon its suggestions and our interactions.
Got it. Okay. And I think, so that's interesting. So you've definitely evolved a lot. I know from our Founders Club, you were talking a little bit on stage about implementing some things with AI. I didn't realize how much you're using it. Are you just using like Claude, or what tool?
So primarily Claude. I also use Chat, and I also have a couple of open models that I've built, because I don't want to get stuck.
Yeah.
I mean, I got they just released Fable, and I watched all my tokens go kaput. Just shoot them up.
Do you think because of how fast technology is evolving, having these type of tools, does that attract, you think, a younger investor? Or what, better said, do you think this is something that is going to be a necessity in order to have that relationship with the younger generation, possibly the ones inheriting your current customers' wealth over the years, or attracting that younger, someone under 55? Do you think this is a tool that advisors will need, these type of tech and AI?
I think the absence of this tool will be a disqualifying event. It's table stakes going forward, having it as part of your practice one way or the other. And to ignore that is to sign over your book to people that do. Because and you had Matt Haller on here a little while ago talking about Zox, and I used Zox for a while and I still got my license, but I haven't used it because I now have built that into my system. But being able to use something like Zox, which is a great tool to capture the conversations. I don't sit down in any conversation with a client without having it being recorded. And the ability now to capture all that stuff that the 60-year-old gray matter doesn't retain, and have it all in your CRM in one form or another. And here's the key with AI, actually using that information. Okay. We have got CRMs that, they save birthdays, save, Diet Coke preferences, all those kind of things, but you don't use it. But when you have it built into a AI-based system that you're developing or that you bought or whatever, because that's what's going to be out there, then you automatically wake up and you've got the briefing that says, don't forget that Bob Jones is coming in and he likes Earl Grey tea served medium warm, whatever that is, or reminding you of things without you thinking about it. And that's the thing. Systems work, people fail. And the more you've got this all programmed into your world, if you don't have it, you just look like a rube compared to those that do. And the charm of being the old guy that maybe was my dad's advisor, that'll go to the side real soon when people are used to getting that level of personalization. And that's what the systems can do for you.
Advisors in 2025 are looking to grow, scale, and capitalize on their business through systems and processes that have been proven by other entrepreneurial advisors here over the years. And here at Simplicity InsureMark, we've made it very easy for advisors, providing our one-pager. That one-pager is titled AMP Path to Prosperity. A couple of check boxes in order to talk about the systems and processes that entrepreneurial advisors are leveraging in their business to help them not only what sells for them when they're not there, but also take tasks off of their plate by delegation and plugging in to some of the financial technology that's offered today to make their business more efficient. So if you would like our one pager and you would like to fill that information out, make sure to check out insuremarkamp.com/Jeremy and click on Learn More for our AMP Path to Prosperity.
It's interesting just watching it kind of unfold. And just how hard is it? So speak to like the advisor that obviously, you get a chance to be just like yourself, some of our top advisors, you're mingling around some of the top, and then you're hearing what other offices are doing. There's a lot of people that just don't have like a community of advisors to bounce ideas off of. So even those that are probably hesitant to start embracing this type of technology, what's maybe one thing or two things just as a starting point from an advisor talking to an advisor to want to make that next step to where I would assume you think you must have tech AI tools in your business essentially moving forward in order to be around for 10 years? Or is that not a fair statement?
That's absolutely fair. You won't be around 10 years if you don't have the backbone around this stuff. Yeah.
So what would you say to the advisor who's still hesitant of wanting to start embracing it? And like, where do they even start? outside of what the chief of staff example was a great example.
By jumping in and asking it questions, being curious, and saying, hey, you know what? I was listening to this podcast. Oh, by the way, here's the transcript of this podcast with this DuPont guy. I want to build something like this. How do we do that? And it'll walk you through how to do it. And you see something that comes out and say, I don't really like the way that worked. And this is why it became habit for me, almost again through the gaming of my morning briefing, that I would go in again, tweak this. Oh, I'd like to really bring up the transcripts from yesterday. Let's make that part of the briefing. And it'll go off and do that. And so that's the key, just to start doing it. And you don't need to pay for some of these wacky courses out there that'll teach you how to do Claude or whatever, because it'll teach you it itself. And as long as you are curious with it and start really thinking, how can I use this in my world? Then the avenues really open up. So perfect example here, Jeremy. I had a client that gave me screenshots of his portfolios. And what would be my mode a year ago? Well, I'd upload those into X, Y, or Z and then ask for an analysis. Instead, I put it in. I said, hey, here are these pictures. They'll read the pictures. And I say, give me an analysis of these portfolios. And 5 minutes later, I had a high-grade analysis of the portfolio. Mm-hmm. It's not the final product, but it's a lot better than the hours that I or a junior advisor would have put in typing in ticker symbols into a portfolio assessment system.
Yeah. I think that concept, right, of it's just like the world we're in. The previous guest talked about this too, of just your Amazon, which is in every industry. That's your competitor. So instant gratification. People want to know. So it's just the faster response. And I think Matt talked about that on our podcast too, is just like the whole waiting 2 weeks before the advisor actually gets back to the client, or after a week, like that guy's just gone. It's just not, It's not going to happen. But your system, so you've actually used AI to create almost like a proprietary system where from start to finish, it's almost a final product. I know you're leveraging Simplicity Wealth's VAR and everything in there too, but it's just, so for the most part, so you can actually use this stuff as an advisor to go A to Z for the financial planning. So that frees up your time to probably do more marketing and just run your business. So therefore having 3 businesses, that's what happens.
Yeah, you got it. You got it. There's nothing that we do as financial advisors in terms of computational or modeling that we pay for the e-monies, retirement analyzer, all this stuff for, that it can't do. It can't do better. Now, being able to use it in a way that's consistent with some of our requirements, it's another story, right? We got to make sure that we put the right guardrails and that type of stuff on there. But when you think about it, everything is basically time value of money, one way or the other. And how do we do that? And how do we fit that together in a way that tells a story that the consumer can understand? Mm-hmm. As you have known me, Jeremy, I tend to get in the weeds. So that's been one of my problems over the years, is I haven't been down at the right level on many things. And now this puts it right there where they can understand it.
Well, I mean, even though, yes, you do like to know how the watch works, but you're really good at telling the time though. So, I mean, at the end of the day, as long as I think that's like the part of your brain just to focus more on like, okay, it's good that I know all this. The client doesn't need to know all this. I need to know all this because they just want to know the time. Right. And it's just articulating that to them, how to do it without telling them how the watch works. That's a whole other part of human connection. So I'm looking forward to our Boston experience together. I'm actually going to pick your brain a lot. I think a couple of the guys who will probably hear this episode while we're there, they definitely need to hear a couple of the strategies that you're using. So that's incredible. I didn't really realize this worked out really well because our previous episodes have talked a lot about AI. I didn't realize how in depth you've gone AI into your business, but this is great. So as we're wrapping up here, any final thoughts, words of wisdom?
Well, to the audience, I just would share that I look forward to having the conversation with the other advisors in the AMP group. And that's one of the things that makes that group of advisors so special is everybody shares freely with each other on the things that are working, things that are not working. And as we advise are out here, typically on our own, it's good to have a home like that.
No, we appreciate you. Looking forward to all the travel that me and you have up and coming. So going to be seeing a lot of Greg. It'll be nice. But thank you for doing this. Thank you very much. And also thank you to the listener for tuning in to this week's episode of the Advisor Mentorship Podcast. Make sure to subscribe on your favorite listening device so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel at Jeremy Hauser AMP. And remember, as you're sharing this episode with a friend or a colleague in a world full of betas, be an alpha.